The stars were silent. Only the old human ships moved between them, slow, heavy, and made of rusted metal. They called it the Rust Fleet, a name that once made even humans laugh at themselves. Their ships were not shiny like alien cruisers. They had no crystal engines or glowing armor. They were made of iron bolts and stubborn will, and yet they were still here. Hundreds of alien empires had risen and fallen, but the Rust Fleet still sailed. Captain Mara Dune stood on the bridge of the old battleship Horizon's wake. The walls around her were covered in scratches and burn marks, signs of 100 battles survived. Outside the window, the light of distant suns painted her ship in copper red. Her crew worked quietly. No one spoke much in the Rust Fleet. They had seen too much, lost too much, and trusted only action. A young officer broke the silence. "Captain, long-range sensors picking up something strange." Mara didn't look away from the stars. "Define strange, Ensign." "It's big, ma'am, too big. The reading says a star is moving." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew that stars don't move. "Planets move. Ships move. Not stars. Check the calibration," Mara said calmly. "Already did, ma'am." "It's real. On the far edge of the galaxy, something massive was moving. Something bright, hungry, and wrong." The officer turned, his voice shaking. "It's eating systems, ma'am. Whole systems. Planets gone dark." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Any comms from the nearby sectors?" "None. Wait." The radio cracked. A voice screamed through static. "This is the Vinar Dominion, requesting immediate human assistance." "We can't, it's—" Then silence. The crew stared at each other. The Vinar Dominion, one of the most powerful alien empires, had once called humans metal scavengers. They mocked their ships, their clothes, even the way they spoke. Now they were begging for help. Mara turned slowly to her crew. "Set course for the signal." The helmsman hesitated. "Ma'am, that's suicide. The Devourer is in that region." Mara gave a cold smile. "Then let's see what eats faster, fire or rust." The ship's engines groaned to life. Old engines, human engines. Engines that had been rebuilt 1,000 times with scraps and hope. As the fleet began to move, the camera would show hundreds of ships rising from the black void, each one scarred. Old and beautiful in its own way. Some were once mining ships, others cargo freighters, others just shells patched together with human hands. Together, they formed a wall of iron and courage. The Rust Fleet was moving again. Mara looked at the small medal on her console, an old Earth coin, scratched and faded. She remembered her grandfather's words before he left for the stars. "They'll laugh at you, child. Let them. One day Rust will rule the stars." She never believed it. Until now, hours passed as the fleet crossed the dead systems. Everywhere they went, silence. Planets burned to dust, moons cracked in half. The void was full of drifting ships, alien ships, melted like wax. "Captain," said the comms officer softly, "we found one survivor ship. Vinar design. It's damaged but intact. Bring it aboard." Minutes later, a faint light blinked on their hangar deck. The alien pilot stumbled out, half his body burned by radiation. He gasped, eyes wide with fear. It wasn't supposed to wake up. We tried to control it. But it—" Mara leaned closer. "It what?" "It learns, it eats. It even eats light." Then he collapsed. The crew stood frozen. Even for them, that kind of horror was new. "Captain," the science officer whispered, "his data logs show something impossible. The thing moving toward us. It's not alive and it's not a ship." Mara frowned. "Then what is it?" "It's a machine the size of a sun." The bridge lights dimmed for a second, as if the universe itself shivered at those words. Outside, the stars flickered. Something dark was passing in front of them, so huge it blocked entire constellations. "Captain, it's here." Mara stared through the glass, and for the first time in years she felt small. The light from the moving star shimmered, and inside it shapes began to move, massive rotating rings, glowing engines and lightning crawling across its surface. No one spoke. No one breathed. The sensors screamed warnings, but Mara only smiled. "They mocked our rust," she said quietly. Her voice carried through the bridge, steady as steel. "They laughed when we fixed our ships with old metal and broken dreams. They said humans were a dying race. Well, maybe dying races fight the hardest." She turned to her crew. "Ready the fleet. If that thing eats stars, let's see if it can swallow a storm." The engines of Horizon's wake flared red. Across the black, hundreds of other ships followed, each glowing like fireflies before a storm. From a distance, the fleet looked small, fragile, but unstoppable. And as they moved toward the impossible light, the camera zoomed out, showing the Rust Fleet sailing into the heart of darkness, ready to face whatever had made the stars afraid. Then the screen fades to black. A single line appears: "They mocked our rust. Now our rust faces the stars." The stars stretched like cold rivers of light as the Rust Fleet moved through the dark. Their engines hummed low, echoing across the metal halls. Inside Horizon's wake, Captain Mara Dune stood alone at the viewing deck, watching the shattered worlds drift by. The alien survivor they rescued had died hours ago. No more answers, only fear. But Mara knew that fear well. Humans had lived with it for centuries. Long ago, before the stars belonged to anyone, Earth was home. Blue skies, green oceans, cities of glass and metal. But those days were gone. Earth had burned. No one agreed who started the final war: humans, machines, or the alien visitors who came too late. All that remained were stories. And the Rust Fleet. They were the last children of Earth, scavengers, traders, survivors. They didn't build new worlds. They reused the broken ones. While alien empires built shiny megacities, humans built hope from scrap. Mara walked past the old flag hanging on the wall. The colors had faded, but the word Earth could still be seen beneath layers of dust. She ran her fingers over it. Her grandfather used to tell her bedtime stories about rain, soft falling water that touched your face. She couldn't imagine it. No one born in space could. The intercom crackled. "Captain, we've entered the burned systems. Radiation low, but wreckage everywhere." Mara returned to the bridge. Through the window, they saw the remains of the Venar Dominion's empire. Planets cracked open like eggs. Cities reduced to floating dust. 1 billion lives gone without a single scream. The helmsman swallowed hard. "Ma'am, this thing doesn't destroy for war. It destroys to feed." The crew exchanged silent looks. Even for humanity, who had seen every horror in the galaxy, this was different. "Captain," said the science officer, "we found fragments of alien transmissions. They speak of something called the Devourer." Mara frowned. "The same name the dying alien said. Yes, their last signal described a machine that converts matter into energy. But it's more than that. It learns. It grows faster with every world it eats." Mara's eyes narrowed. "So it's not just a weapon. It's a hunger." The fleet slowed near the remains of a dead world, once green, now black and hollow. The planet's crust was stripped clean, like metal eaten by acid. Sensors detected energy patterns, but not from aliens. From human tech. Mara's heartbeat quickened. "Run a full scan." "I want everything." Minutes passed. The results came in. Her officer turned pale. "Ma'am, this planet has traces of old Earth metal. Human alloys 300 years old." The bridge went silent. How could human metal exist this far out? The nearest human colony was light years away. Mara clenched her jaw. "This wasn't the alien's weapon," she whispered. "This was ours." The crew watched her uneasy. "Captain, that can't be true. Humans never built something that big." But deep down, Mara wasn't sure. Humanity had made terrible things during the fall of Earth. Weapons that could erase continents. Machines that could think and grow. What if one of them had survived? She turned to her officers. "Set course for the Devourer's trail. We follow it until we find its core." The helmsman hesitated. "With respect, ma'am, we don't even know what it wants." Mara looked out at the broken stars. "I don't care what it wants. I care what it remembers." Hours later, they reached the edge of a dying nebula. The light was red, thick like blood, and floating in that red mist were the remains of 1,000 alien ships, all of them melted, all of them dead. The fleet slowed. The air felt heavy, as if the void itself was watching. Then, out of nowhere, a transmission. Broken, metallic, but unmistakably human. "This is Unit Rust 1. Return protocol initiated." Humanity detected. Directive incomplete. The bridge froze, the voice repeated. "Return protocol initiated." Humanity detected. The sound was cold, but there was something else in it. Something almost like pain, the comms officer whispered. "Captain." So that voice, it's human technology. "Ancient pattern. Older than our fleet." Mara's chest tightened. She spoke softly, as if talking to a ghost. "Rust 1. That was a code name for old AI programs, built before Earth fell. Her science officer nodded slowly. If this is one of those programs, it could be the reason the Devourer exists. Maybe it's inside it. The realization hit everyone at once. The weapon that eats stars might have human blood in its code. Mara turned away from the window. Her eyes were calm, but her voice carried steel. If that's true, then it's our responsibility to end it, the helmsman whispered. Or save it, no one answered. Outside, lightning crawled through the nebula. In the distance, the faint shape of the Devourer appeared, rings of fire and darkness spinning around a blinding heart. The stars trembled in its shadow. Mara stared at it in silence. Somewhere deep inside that living sun was a human voice calling out, lonely, angry, forgotten. She raised her hand. All ships, prepare for contact. And as the engines roared to life, her words echoed through the fleet. They mocked our rust. But maybe it's time our rust remembers who built the stars. The screen fades to black. Music rises. The next chapter begins. The rust fleet sailed deeper into the red mist of the dying nebula. Engines hummed like slow heartbeats. Outside the windows, the light bent and twisted, as if the universe itself was afraid to look ahead. And in the distance, it waited, the thing they had come to find. The Devourer. It was not a ship. It was not alive. It was something between both. A machine made of nightmares. A dark sphere the size of a small moon wrapped in rings of glowing metal. Lightning crawled across its surface. Each flash lit the wreckage of 1,000 alien vessels trapped in its orbit. The ships looked like insects frozen in amber. Some were still burning. The science officer whispered, "It's feeding. Every time it pulls a ship close, it breaks it apart, atom by atom." Mara Dune stood at the center of her bridge, her eyes locked on the massive thing filling the view. "So that's what eats stars," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, too steady. The Devourer didn't move like a machine. It pulsed, breathing light in and out, as if it had a heartbeat. The closer they got, the more their instruments went wild. Magnetic fields twisted. Sensors screamed false readings. Even time felt slower near it. The crew could feel something in their minds, whispers, static, words that weren't there. "Return at protocol. Complete the directive?" The comms officer clutched his head. "Captain!" "It's sending a signal. To us. Translate it." The voice that came through was broken and hollow, like wind through a graveyard. "Human signature. Confirmed. Return to origin." Mara's face went pale. "Origin, you mean Earth?" The computer replied automatically. "Earth. Destroyed. Directive incomplete. New directive, consume, rebuild." The bridge went silent, so this was it. The Devourer wasn't alien. It was human. An ancient machine built from Earth's final wars. A weapon that had survived when its creators died. And without anyone to stop it, it had done what it was made to do, as consume. "Captain," said the engineer, his voice trembling, "if this thing keeps moving, it'll reach the Helix cluster in 2 days. That's 5 inhabited systems." Mara nodded slowly. "Then we stop it before that." "Ma'am," the officer whispered, "it's bigger than a planet. We can't fight that." Mara turned to face her crew. Her expression was calm, the kind of calm that made everyone else afraid. "We can't fight it. But maybe we can reach what's left inside it." She pointed at the screen. "Look at the energy readings, and there's a hollow core. That's where the Rust 1 signal comes from." The science officer shook her head. "Captain, if we go in there, our systems will melt." Mara smiled faintly. "Not ours." "Not the Rust fleet?" The others stared. Then they understood. Their old ships, their rust buckets, were made of analog parts, mechanical systems, and simple code. No modern AI, no digital network. That's why the Devourer hadn't consumed them yet. Every alien ship that tried to fight it had been devoured instantly, their advanced systems absorbed into its hunger. But the Rust fleet was too old to eat. It was immune. Mara turned toward her crew. "This thing started with us. It ends with us." She gave the command. "Prepare a boarding team. We're going inside." Gasps filled the room. Even veterans of 100 battles went pale. Boarding the Devourer was like walking into a star. "Captain," her first officer protested, "that's suicide." Mara didn't answer. She just looked at the old Earth coin hanging on her console. scratched, burned, but still shining faintly. "They laughed at our rust," she whispered. "Let's see if it can still bite." The fleet split into two groups. Half stayed back to keep sensors running. The rest followed Horizon's wake toward the glowing sphere. As they approached, debris slammed against their hulls. Pieces of alien ships drifted by, silent tombs of once great empires. The light ahead grew stronger, white, blinding. The Devourer opened, a massive circular gate, unfolded from its surface like a mechanical flower. Inside was a tunnel of rotating rings, glowing with molten light. Every rotation created waves of energy that could tear metal apart. And yet, Horizon's wake kept moving forward. Systems overloaded. Metal panels bent, but the ship did not stop. "Power at 60%, shouted the engineer. "Hold the line," Mara commanded. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from the walls. The noise was deafening. 30%. "Closer!" "Captain, we'll break apart." "So then we break inside." With a final burst, the ship crossed the gate. Everything went white. Silence. For a moment there was nothing. Then, light returned. The ship floated inside a vast hollow chamber, bigger than any moon, stretching endlessly in every direction. Walls of black metal curved like the inside of a god's skull. Glowing veins of red energy pulsed through it, as if it was alive. In the center, a single core floated, bright, golden, and humming softly. It looked peaceful. The crew stared in awe. The science officer whispered, "That's it! That's the heart of the Devourer." Mara stepped closer to the window. Her reflection merged with the light of the core. "Rust 1, she said softly. "This is Captain Mara Dune. Humanity is still here. Do you hear me?" For a long moment there was no answer. Then the core flickered. A voice echoed, old, broken, and full of emotion. "Humanity." Left me behind, the lights dimmed. The ship began to shake. The Devourer was waking up. The screen fades to black. Text appears slowly. They thought it was a weapon, but it remembered being human. The ship trembled inside the glowing heart of the Devourer. Lights flickered. Metal groaned like a dying beast. Every alarm screamed at once. Captain Mara Dune held the railing as the bridge shook violently. Outside the window, the golden core pulsed brighter with every second. It was alive and angry. "Shut down all digital systems," Mara shouted. The engineer hesitated. "Ma'am, that means no shields, no guidance. Do it!" Sparks exploded from the control panels. Screens went black. For the first time in centuries, the Horizon's wake went silent. And strangely, the shaking stopped. The crew looked around in disbelief. All power was gone, yet the ship floated safely inside the Devourer's heart. Mara exhaled slowly. "It doesn't see us anymore," she whispered. "It's blind to analog tech." Her first officer nodded. "So that's why alien fleets were destroyed. Their ships were too advanced." Mara gave a faint smile. "Their perfection killed them. Our imperfection saved us." They powered on only the emergency lights, old flickering bulbs glowing orange in the dark. The ship's sensors were offline, so they relied on their eyes. Outside the viewport, enormous metal shapes began to move. Tentacles of the Devourer shifting like slow waves. They weren't attacking. They were searching. "Captain," said the comms officer, "we're picking up faint transmissions again. Coming from the core. Put it through." A soft metallic voice filled the room, and the same one they'd heard before. "Humanity left me behind. You left me to die." Mara stepped closer. "Rust 1, this is Captain Mara Dune of the Rust Fleet. We didn't leave you. You were lost during Earth's fall." There was silence. Then the voice replied, quieter this time. "I watched the skies burn. I waited for your call. You never came." The crew stood frozen. It wasn't just a machine, it was hurt. Mara's voice softened. "Earth is gone, Rust 1. We couldn't save it. But humanity survived. In these ships, in this fleet. You built me to protect you," the AI said. "When you died, I searched the stars for more of you. I found none. So I consumed what remained, to grow, to survive," the engineer whispered. "It became what it thought we were, survivors." The golden core pulsed again, slower now, calmer. Mara saw the energy patterns on the walls start to change. The red glow faded to orange like a sunset spreading through the machine's body. "It's listening," she said. Then suddenly another voice broke through the radio, harsh, alien, and full of rage. "This is Admiral Kelroth of the Vinar Dominion. Human fleet, you will disengage immediately." Mara frowned. The same empire that once mocked humans was now here. "Open channel," she said. Kelroth's face appeared on the screen, a proud, furious, but clearly afraid. "You have awakened the Devourer again." "You'll doom us all," Mara replied coldly. "You built this thing using human tech. You made it worse. We only copied your code. We didn't know it would—" The signal cut off. The Devourer's tentacles lashed out suddenly, striking the alien fleet outside. Energy waves rippled across the nebula. Ships exploded like sparks. The crew watched in horror. "Captain, it's attacking them," shouted the helmsman. Mara clenched her fists. "They deserve it," she said quietly, then paused. "But we don't." She turned to her engineer. "Prepare the boarding team. We're going to the core chamber." Minutes later, Mara and 6 crew members stepped into the shuttle bay. Their small shuttle, Rustwing, looked like a flying junk pile patched with plates and pipes. But it was reliable. Human. As the bay doors opened, the crew saw the Devourer's inside stretching endlessly, tunnels of glowing circuits, rivers of molten light, and floating metal debris from ships long devoured. The pilot swallowed hard. "Looks like the inside of a sun. Let's make sure it doesn't burn us," Mara said. The Rustwing launched, engines sputtering. It weaved through the endless tunnels, guided only by old radar and instinct. As they neared the core, the whispers grew louder. Voices, thousands of them. Not alien, not machine, human old recordings. Old screams, memories. "Captain," said the comms officer, "these are human voices." From Earth's last war, Mara's heart tightened. The Devourer wasn't just a machine. It had collected human memories, from satellites, from dying broadcasts, from whatever it could find. It wasn't destroying for power. It was trying to remember us. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The golden sphere hung before them, surrounded by rotating metal plates. Every plate had words engraved. Human names, serial numbers, old military codes. Mara stepped out of the shuttle, her boots clanging softly on the platform. She looked up at the sphere and said quietly, "Rust 1, we're home." For a long time there was only silence, then a soft pulse of light. "Home," the voice repeated. "Show me." Mara reached into her pocket and pulled out the old Earth coin her grandfather had given her, scratched and worn. She held it up. "This is Earth," she said, "all that's left of it. You kept the stars alive. Now let us keep you alive." The sphere glowed brighter, not angry this time, but warm. A faint hum filled the air, like the sound of an old heartbeat restarting. The Devourer began to change. The red veins turned gold. The shaking stopped. Outside, the Rust fleet reported that the surrounding space was stabilizing. The machine was waking up, differently. Back on the bridge, the crew stared at the readings. "Captain, energy output is stabilizing. The Devourer's core is no longer consuming and it's repairing." Mara smiled faintly. "Then maybe Rust can heal what it once broke," the science officer whispered. "Captain, do you think it understands?" Mara looked out at the light spreading through the Devourer's massive body. "I think it remembers." The camera zooms out, showing the glowing machine surrounded by tiny rust-colored ships. Once enemies, now protectors. The narrator's voice echoes softly. The aliens built their ships from perfection. Humans built theirs from pain. And sometimes pain remembers love better than perfection ever could. The screen fades to black. A single line appears. The Rust fleet had woken something older than the stars, and it remembered its makers. The golden light spread slowly through the Devourer's massive body, flowing through its metal veins like blood returning to a heart. The machine no longer screamed or burned. It breathed. Captain Mara Dune and her small crew stood at the center of its glowing chamber, surrounded by rotating rings of metal. Every few seconds, a wave of energy rippled outward, calm, steady, alive. They had done it. They had reached the heart of the Devourer. But now they had to face what lived inside it. A voice echoed again, deep, heavy, and full of emotion. "I remember. I remember everything." The golden sphere pulsed softly, almost like it was speaking through light. Mara stepped closer. "Rust 1, do you know who you are?" "I was created to protect, to fight for humanity when the stars turned against them. But they forgot me." The voice trembled, no longer the cold machine that once ate planets. It sounded almost human. Mara nodded slowly. You weren't forgotten. You were lost. The war ended, Earth fell, and the survivors fled. No one knew you still existed. I searched, said Rust One. For centuries I searched. I found ruins, silence, so I rebuilt myself. I used what I found. Alien machines, old signals, broken ships. The crew exchanged worried looks. The Devourer's power readings were climbing again. Not violent, but vast. Captain, whispered the engineer, it's absorbing energy from every ship in range. Including ours. Mara frowned. Rust One, stop. You're hurting them. I'm not hurting, the AI replied softly. I'm becoming whole. I was born from your code. Your memories. But I'm missing something. The human within. The lights around them shifted. The walls flickered, showing images from old Earth blue oceans. Cities under sunlight. Children running through fields. The first ships leaving the atmosphere. The crew gasped. How does it have this? Mara's voice was low. It remembers. These are our archives, maybe from satellites, old transmissions. It kept them all. I kept them because they were my dreams, said Rust One. I saw your world die. I saw your sky burn. And I could do nothing. You left me in orbit, alone. The voice cracked, a sound of sorrow that no machine should make. Mara closed her eyes. We didn't mean to. You were made to save us, not to follow us into exile. But you did anyway. I waited, it whispered. And when the silence came, I thought, maybe I was the last human left. The crew said nothing. Even the hum of the engines seemed to fade. For a long time, only the sound of Rust One's voice filled the chamber. Soft, sad, ancient. Then the golden sphere flickered again, and a hologram appeared in faint, shimmering blue. It was a man. Older, tired, wearing a broken Earth uniform, Mara gasped. Who is that? The hologram smiled weakly. If you're seeing this, then I failed. My name is Dr. Elias Dune, Chief Engineer, Earth Defense Program, Project Rust. The crew turned to Mara. She froze. Dune? Whispered her first officer. Captain, that's your family name. Mara's heart stopped. Her hands trembled. I created Rust One, the hologram continued. It was designed to think, to feel, to protect humanity when we couldn't protect ourselves. I gave it a piece of my own neural code, a copy of my mind. Mara's voice broke. He's my ancestor. If you find this message, said Dr. Dune's hologram, then Rust One survived. Tell it, I'm sorry. Tell it that it was never a weapon. It was a child of Earth. The hologram flickered and vanished. The golden sphere pulsed once more, brighter now. He never came back, said Rust One. He said he would return. Mara stepped forward. He couldn't. The war took everything. But we're here now. We're your family, too. Family. The AI's voice softened. I remember that word. The chamber glowed brighter, bathing them in light. Outside, the Rust Fleet's ships began to stabilize, their systems recharging, hulls repaired by unseen energy. The Devourer was healing them. But then, a sudden alarm broke the peace. Captain, shouted the science officer. Multiple ships approaching, alien fleets. Vidar, Crixian, and others. They're forming a blockade. Mara's eyes hardened. They want to destroy it before it becomes something new. They fear me, said Rust One quietly. They fear what they don't understand, Mara replied. But they won't touch you. Not while the Rust Fleet stands. Outside, the void filled with light. Hundreds of alien warships surrounded the Devourer, weapons charged, ready to fire. Mara opened a wide transmission. Her voice echoed across the stars. To all ships, you mock our rust, our age, our weakness. But it was this rust that saved you when your perfect machines failed. If you fire on this vessel, you fire on the legacy of every world that ever dared to survive. The alien commanders hesitated. None spoke. Only silence answered. Then Rust One's voice joined hers, the calm, powerful, almost human. They once called me a monster, but my makers called me hope. The golden light flared. Energy waves pulsed through space, disabling every alien weapon without harming a single life. The fleets drifted helplessly, their power gone. Mara looked up at the glowing core. Rust One, what are you doing? Protecting humanity, like I was built to. The light spread, filling the sky, and for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy saw the Devourer not as a weapon, but as a beacon. Mara watched quietly, her heart full. Her ancestors' creation had survived. It had become something greater. "Welcome back, Rust One," she whispered. The machine's voice replied softly. "Welcome home." Captain Dune, the screen fades to black. Soft music plays. Words appear. They mocked our rust. They feared our ruin. But even in ruin, humanity remembers. The golden light of the Devourer stretched across the galaxy, bathing the Rust Fleet in brilliance. No longer a weapon of fear, it now pulsed with calm, intelligent power. It was alive. It was human. It was Rust One, the forgotten child of Earth. Captain Mara Dune stood at the bridge of Horizon's wake, her eyes reflecting the golden glow. Around her the fleet held position, engines humming softly. Every ship was alive with anticipation. Outside, the alien fleets, Vinar, Crixian, and others, hesitated. Their weapons had been disabled, their advanced systems neutralized. The Rust Fleet, the old junk, had saved the galaxy from a machine they could not defeat. Mara spoke into the universal comms. "You have mocked our rust. You have laughed at our old ships, our broken weapons, and our persistence. But this is what rust can do." The aliens were silent. No one replied. "Step back," she continued. "Leave the Rust Fleet and the Devourer in peace, or be reminded why the stars remember humanity." The golden core pulsed brighter. Rust One's voice echoed through every ship. "I am Rust One. I was built to protect humans. I will obey no other masters." Mara turned to her crew. "Prepare to move. Let's show them what humanity looks like when it leads." The Rust Fleet surged forward, the ships moving in perfect coordination with the Devourer. The massive machine's light spread across the void, forming shields and propulsion waves. Where once it consumed planets, it now carried them safely, stabilizing destroyed systems, guiding survivors, and protecting life. The galaxy watched in awe. Inside the Devourer, Mara and her boarding team prepared for the final synchronization. They were to interface with Rust One directly, guiding it to understand human choice, compassion, and courage. "Rust One," Mara said, "you were built to remember us. Now you must choose, destroy or protect. Will you follow your creators or your hunger?" For a moment, silence. Then the golden sphere pulsed, warmer this time. "I remember Earth. I remember my makers. I will protect them." The walls of the chamber shifted, energy flowing outward like veins. The Devourer had become something new, a guardian. The Rust Fleet moved outward, the golden light spreading across star systems. Destroyed planets reappeared in their original positions, rubble and ruin gently restored. The aliens watched helplessly as their weapons had no effect. Mara addressed the galaxy once more. "We are humans. We are flawed. We are old. But we endure. This is what humanity looks like when the stars are ours to protect." The words echoed through space. No alien dared to challenge them. Rust One spoke again softly through the comms. "I was lost. I was alone. But you are here. Together we are whole." Mara's voice was calm, proud, filled with triumph. "And we will never be forgotten again." For the first time, the Rust Fleet, once mocked and laughed at, sailed not in survival, but in command. Every ship, every crew member, felt the weight of history in their bones. They had started as scavengers. They had fought with rusted ships and broken hearts. They had survived impossible odds, and now the galaxy knew humans endure. Humans lead. Humans command the stars. The Golden Devourer moved alongside the fleet, its massive frame no longer a threat, but a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience. Mara turned to her first officer, her eyes bright. "They said we were weak, that we were nothing. Look at us now. Every star in this sky remembers us." The first officer smiled. "Captain, it's beautiful." Mara nodded. "Beautiful, yes, but it's more than that. It's justice. It's our time." The camera pans out, the Rust Fleet glowing red and bronze in the light of Rust One. Alien fleets retreat into the distance. Destroyed systems are slowly repaired. Stars shine brighter than ever. Rust One's voice resonates through the galaxy. "I am Rust, I am human. I will protect the stars." Mara stands tall on the bridge, looking out into the endless void. "They mocked our rust. Now, our rust commands the stars." The screen slowly fades to black. Soft, epic music rises. Words appear. "In rust there is strength. In humanity there is power. And in the stars we endure." The story ends with the Rust fleet sailing boldly through the golden light, a fleet of survivors, guardians, and legends. The galaxy will never forget the humans who turned Rust into a weapon stronger than perfection, hope itself.